college as well. But first, down to the Civic Auditorium and a look at hockey. Bill Corello is a very famous face to Oshawa sports fans. He headed up the Civic Auditorium for many years. But Bill now is a part-time author of sorts. He's helping to put together another history of the Oshawa Generals. Recently, Goal Line's Brian Legree had a chance to go down to the Civic and talk to Bill about his interesting project.
Welcome back to the Civic Auditorium. I'm Brian Legree, and with me is Bill Corello. And Bill, this time we're going to talk about your role as an author. You've got a new book coming out, should be out within a month, you're hoping.
Brian, not a role as the author, I guess a role as an editor in the book. The author of the Volume 2 History of the Generals is done again by Babe Brown. And without the author, there's no book. And I was fortunate, to be asked to edit the book, and we have. And fortunately today, we just got a proof of the cover of the book, Brian.
Let's hold that up for the camera to get a look at.
There's the cover. This design is being published by the William Hayball Foundation, charitable foundation in Oshawa, and turned over to the Kinsman Club of Oshawa, and proceeds go into cystic fibrosis of the sale of the book. So Babe is very, very pleased to do another book, and people involved in producing it are pleased that it's going to cystic fibrosis. And the players that I've contacted are also very happy that all proceeds are going. And I think the most important thing is that John Humphreys was the one that approved the writing of the book and approved the donations to cystic fibrosis.
The book's called A History of the Oshawa Generals. Bill, why don't you give us a little snapshot of what we can expect to see from inside the book?
Brian, I've put together about 200 photos. One of the big features in the book that I like, with the help of Wayne Kuhn, who collects Oshawa General photos. I have photos of ex-Oshawa Generals, 71 photos of ex-Oshawa Generals that played in the National Hockey League with their National Hockey League sweaters. It's a great asset to the book. Plus, we have various shots similar to this. There's one of Mike Craig and Eric Lindros when they won the gold medal in the World Junior Championships in 1990. So it's full of memories of the Memorial Cup in Oshawa, the Memorial Cup in Portland, and a lot of great shots of fans. And I'm sure that the people of Oshawa and hockey fans throughout Ontario and Canada are going to love this book.
Now this is Volume 2. Volume 1 came out exactly when?
It came out, I think it was 1974, Brian, when Babe wrote the book, and it was in collaboration with Bobby Addersley and myself. It was a private venture at that time.
And it was updated, was it not?
It was updated. We had another printing of the book,
right,
which William Hayball Foundation backed, and again went to charity. So Mr. Hayball and his board of directors and the advisors are to be commended for getting involved in this venture.
And what are some of the nuggets, the real gems that you've unearthed that are a little different this time around?
You're probably aware that I did some research on the boys and the management that were involved. All ex-generals that were involved in the NHL, and we have a list there, about 160 names. I have a lot of again photographs of all the teams starting in 1979 and 1990. Great Memorial Cup shots of the boys on the ice. In fact, this shot is at the Copps Coliseum in Hallam.
Let's hold that up on the front cover.
Just as about 5 minutes after winning the championship on the ice. And it's a great shot. And what I did also was place the other 3 Memorial Cup teams on the back of the cover with the one in 1990 and various pucks that were used over the years by the Generals. I placed a picture of Wayne Gretzky when he was 12 years old and played here in the Kinsman tournament, and was the most valuable player. I have that. I have a great shot of Bobby Orr as a boy going to school in front of the OCVI. Bob will be surprised to see that one.
So you said there's a chapter here that deals not only with the Generals, but with minor hockey here in the city.
Well, I have some minor hockey photos, yeah. I don't know if people have seen the photographs on the wall at the Children's Arena, about 15 boys that have come through minor hockey. I had that reproduced and it'll be in the book. It's great. Which covers Kevin McClellan with 4 Stanley Cup rings, and Dale Holychek and
John McClain
and Terry O'Reilly. It's great.
Now, how can people, the book is not out yet, and we'll stress that, but how will people be able to get the book once it does come out?
Yes, Brian, the Kinsman Club of Oshawa again will be marketing the book. They'll be probably having the book available in all the bookstores in Oshawa. We hope the book will be finished, printed within 2 weeks. So I'm sure that they'll have releases through the press and through television and radio where the books will be available.
Well, it sounds like a great Christmas present idea, Bill, and we wish you the best of luck with it, and to you, Babe Brown. So thank you, and once again, best of luck, Bill.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, best of luck to Bill Corello and Babe Brown with their new book. Babe Brown, of course, is the super lady. Babe, best wishes, and Bill Corello doing a great job marketing the book. Goal Line will certainly pass on the information when that book becomes available, and it's a certainly can't miss for hockey fans in this area. Another can't miss coming up is at Durham College on the weekend when the Sanusa Basketball Championship takes place. The Sanusa Cup is a relatively new event, and one of the reasons to get down there and see it this weekend is Mike Pawerka. Pawerka is 17 years old, and get this, 6 foot 9.5, 220 pounds. Now that kind of size and his ability on the basketball court has got Mike a scholarship at Boston College. He was courted by Syracuse, Notre Dame, a lot of high-profile schools, but Mike picked Boston College. We had a chance to go down to Durham and talk with Mike Pawerka recently at Durham College. Well, when you're 6 foot 9.5, some 225 pounds, you're used to people noticing you, and Mike Pawerka is definitely being noticed. Mike is currently at McLaughlin Collegiate, but not long for McLaughlin Collegiate. Mike, next year you'll be off to Boston College on a scholarship. First of all, congratulations for you. That's a great achievement for a 17-year-old. What were your first thoughts when you finally, I guess, sorted out the offers and said it's going to be Boston College?
A lot of it was just personal relief. Now that I have all the recruiting over, I'm ready to make the next step, move up to the next level of basketball. And it was just like a great sense of relief. I just, made the right decision. And all the people that I've been talking to say it's the right decision, so.
What's it like when you're 15, 16 years old and people are already starting to notice you on the court and scholarship offers are coming in and, of course, schools want to talk to you and all that? What's the pressure like for a kid your age? Put up with that?
Well, the only pressure I believe it comes that you put on yourself. Like if you put pressure on yourself, then that's when I don't think anyone else can put pressure on you. When you got the scouts are in the stands and you're trying to look and see who they are. No matter what people say, you are looking in the stands to see which guy looks like a scout. And when you're playing out there, I just it was kind of intimidating having all those people come when I was so young. Not really that young, but young enough.
I can imagine. So how long have you been playing basketball? Now, obviously, a guy of your height, you would think you've been playing basketball all your life, but I understand you really only picked up the game in around grade 7.
Grade 8 actually is when I really started heavy into the basketball. So I started rather late. Because I really sucked when I was like in grade 7, but
that's surprising when you consider your height and all that. So it just shows you, though, I guess, Mike, that basketball, and I guess you had to learn firsthand, is a lot more than just being a tall man's game. It's easy enough to say, well, you're 6, obviously. Even when you were younger, you're 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and as you're growing. But there's more to the game. What are the things you had to work on to get to where you are now?
A lot of it was my coordination. Like in the earlier years, I wasn't really coordinated. I didn't have the speed or the strength or anything, and when I was playing, I didn't really have the concept of the game. So, I learned to become a smart person and just, learn the game. And once I got that, then all the physical skills came with it.
And obviously, you've got the physical tools. Mike, tell us about Boston College and what convinced you to go to that school. What was the turning point? I know you mentioned earlier Syracuse, a couple of other schools. Tell us what made you pick Boston.
Basically, Boston College has a great academic standards for their school. They have all the courses that I wanted in the school. They have a great basketball program, and they also have a good team. The coaching is great, and we heard from a lot of people down there, people that we have contacts with, and they reviewed all of the schools, and they just helped me pick out this one. And
what are some of the other schools that were making pitches for you?
Virginia, Syracuse, we had Notre Dame, UNLV.
Now, there's some pretty high-profile schools there that even a casual fan of the game would recognize. That's pretty heady stuff. What did you do to keep your head on during when all this is going on?
Take it all, not get my head too lost in the clouds. Although all these people are coming after you, they're also going after a lot of kids, 100 other kids, at the same time. When they're just sending you letters really don't mean anything. But when they start calling up, you get a feeling, that now they want you. So just got to keep your head down, don't get too far in the clouds.
Yeah, well, obviously you have. What do you intend to take there academically, and what are your academic interests?
I'm going to move into psychology, child psychology, social worker, something to do with children, because I really like working with children. So working in with the education, probably.
Excellent. Tell us about McLaughlin Collegiate. You know, McLaughlin is not one of the schools that immediately comes to mind as a basketball powerhouse around here. You think of O'Neill and in girls basketball Dwyer, but McLaughlin really doesn't fit the mold. However, you've developed and you've made the team, obviously, a big part of the team being successful this year. Tell us a little bit about the coaching and what you learned at McLaughlin.
McLaughlin has always had like a good lacrosse team. They're basically ever known for lacrosse. We didn't have a good basketball team for a long time. And when I came to school, everything started blossoming. Came up with a lot of good players for our team, and not just saying me, like, but
We had some good teammates.
Yeah,
sure.
we had some good teammates, and we just came up and we sort of made the school into a basketball challenging school. Right?
And so much so, in fact, that getting to the Sanusa Cup, of course, which is why a press conference was held at Durham College about this, your team is in there because you're one of the profile teams and you're one of the teams that everyone wants to see now. That has to give you a good sense of accomplishment as well, I would think, Mike, considering where the program's come at McLaughlin.
Yeah, it's come a long way, like a long, long way. You look up at the banners, and the last time actually anyone ever won was, 1975, 1976. And we've got some recruits. We've got Chris Johnson from Henry Street. He came to McLaughlin, and that just made our team even stronger. So we're ready to do some work out there. We've only played a couple of games this season, right? But everything's doing fine.
So far, so good. Tell us a little bit about the Sanusa Cup. It's nice to see high school basketball getting this kind of recognition and publicity. As a player, you must look forward to these events too. They seem to be getting bigger and better every year.
Yeah, I love to play in front of crowds. Get that jam.
That's going to help you in Boston College. That's
yeah,
for sure.
I like crowds don't intimidate me, so I love to play in front of crowds. And this is a really high-profile tournament. You get to play. There'll be a lot of scouts here. Just knowing you're playing in front of all those kind of people is going to give you a good feeling if you do well.
I guess the toughest thing for you, Mike, is to keep focus this year on the high school program, keep your academics, and sort of keep Boston College on the back burner now. Is that going to be possible?
Yeah, I can keep it on the side. I'm going to concentrate on my school, make sure that I don't flunk out, and not get there at all, But,
of course, that's an important thing. You've got to keep up the marks, right?
Yeah,
Obviously.
I can keep up my marks, do the best I can in school, and just concentrate on doing a good job here on the court.
Terrific. Well, the Sanusa basketball tournament should be a resounding success, of course, taking place at Durham College. And one of the reasons it should be is there are guys like Mike Pawerka, who has already got a scholarship at Boston College and has become a real star in this area. And Mike, good luck in the tournament. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll talk again, and good luck at Boston College down the road. Thank you. Well, Mike Pawerka is a perfect example of how far high school basketball has gone in the area. Of course, Pawerka is already off to Boston College, but every year, a lot of players from this area are getting U.S. scholarships, going on to Canadian colleges, and the sport of basketball is booming. And thanks to people like Mike Pawerka, the Sanusa Cup is a perfect example of how basketball is booming. Pat Rutledge is the coordinator of this tournament, which takes place at Durham College this weekend. Pawerka and his McLaughlin team are among the teams competing, and we had a chance to talk to Pat about the Sanusa Cup and the sport of basketball in general in this area. Well, Sanusa Cup 93 is coming to Oshawa on the weekend, and the organizer of the tournament coordinator Pat Rutledge, joins me now. And Pat, I'll tell you, I guess the Sanusa Cup is a pretty good example of how far high school sports and athletics are coming in this area recently. Tell us a little bit about the start of the tournament and what you're expecting this year.
Well, you couldn't be more correct in your assessment in the fact that high school sports is an untapped market. I think that we have 750 high schools in this province playing anywhere from 10 to 20 different sports, and I think basketball has become the marquee game. Sanusa Cup is just mirroring that fact. The timing is terrific because the NBA coming to Toronto and this community, and what we're trying to do is take advantage of what the sport's growth could be potentially, give the kids an opportunity to play a high level, high caliber brand of basketball that is at least on par with the provincial championships, and in some cases higher, because Sanusa Cup is about the best in Ontario playing the best from the United States.
Now, a lot of people might be surprised, Pat, who are not that familiar with high school athletics, but when people talk about the NBA coming and the sport of basketball, and everyone says, well, they're going to have to sell fans on the game and educate fans on the game, which is true to a certain extent, but what a lot of people don't realize is there is a tremendous amount of basketball interest already in this community.
This game doesn't need to be sold to the kids. It maybe need to be sold to the yuppies who go to the Blue Jay games, but it doesn't need to be sold to the kids. Basketball is the perfect sport for the fast food generation. It's quick, it's active, it's energy, you watch a game and you're seeing kids 6'5", 6'6". Heck, when I went to school, the tallest kid was 6 foot. And what they can do athletically is incredible, and it's such a surge of energy in a gymnasium when you see a kid go up and do a two-hand slam, or you see a 3-point shot from 25 feet. And the game doesn't need to be sold to the kids. But what we need to do is say, let's forget the Young Street riot. Let's forget all the bad publicity kids are getting. Let's give them something constructive to do. Let's make sports our carrot to keep these kids active and doing positive things. Keep them in school, keep them focused on doing the right thing, and congratulate them, promote them. Say, get them on the TV, get them on the radio, get them in the newspaper, say, see, if you do something right, someone's going to come up and say, nice job. Instead of saying, you're no good, you're rotten, you're lousy, you're destructive.
Quite often the only time the TV and media attention is if it's a negative story.
Absolutely, and corporate sponsors out there who've jumped on the Blue Jay bandwagon, the Leaf bandwagon, and all the other pro sports, they can be had to become involved in high school sport too, but you have to showcase the kids, you have to show the sponsors that the kids are there and are a good role model for them to be involved with.
Let's talk about showcasing, and of course the Sanusa Cup is definitely going to do that. Tell us a little bit about the teams. I know local basketball fans know McLaughlin, know Neil, and the local teams, but run down the field for some of the teams they can look forward to.
Well, here in Oshawa we have eight of what I consider to be the top 20 teams in the province, starting with St. Matthews out of Ottawa, McLaughlin here in Oshawa, probably the two top teams in this field. But there's 6 other teams here. Former provincial champion O'Neill from Oshawa, the number 2 ranked team out of Scarborough, Cedar Brae, who is going to give Pearson a run for the money, and Pearson last year won a bronze medal at OFSA. You have Moira out of Belleville, a school that a couple of years ago had a very strong team and who appear to be strong again this year. You have Frontenac from Kingston, the wild card in this thing. Who knows what they're going to be like. And Mother Teresa, predominantly a strong school out of the Catholic League in Toronto. And Ajax, who last year had Michael Hunt from this area playing, who I understand is down on a scholarship at a junior college. So you've got some history, some tradition here, some traditional strong basketball schools. But more importantly, you have 8 schools who are going to put on a great show. And Sanusa, the Eastern Regional is well represented. And I feel that next year we'd like to get 16 teams here at Durham College. It's a great facility. Why not use it?
Tremendous. Now you take a look, Pat, at the field that's coming to this thing and the interest. And you mentioned scholarships, which is a point I want to touch on. A lot of people might not be aware either of the large number of Canadian kids that have been able to get scholarships at U.S. schools. And we talked to Mike Perwerker, of course, who's got a scholarship at Boston College. You've got Syracuse and UNLV, calling him, and Notre Dame. I mean, even the casual fan knows what great schools they are with basketball programs. What's transpired lately is high school sports may be finally turning the corner in this area in terms of scholarship and exposure to where it should be going, which is like towards more publicity and better scholarships for the kids.
The athletes are here, and I've said this before, and I'll continue to repeat myself. The athletes in Canada are as good as anywhere in the world. What they lack maybe is a little bit of coaching at the younger age in certain sports. I've always said if we take the approach with all our sports like we do with hockey, we could be an Olympic power because the kids are there, the athletes are there. I think what's happened, what transpired in the sport of basketball, with Leo Routens went down first to Marshall University, then transferred to Minnesota, and then ended up at Syracuse, and then he was drafted by the Sixers in the NBA. A lot of people started to wake up down in the States and say, hey, there's, Leo Routens, how many others are up there? And college coaches traditionally used to recruit from within, now they're recruiting from without. And Mike Perwerka is benefiting from the groundbreaking that Leo Routens made. And then you have Philip Dixon at Utah, and probably the best basketball player to come out of this country, Greg Newton, who's now starting his freshman year at Duke. And what better place to start than at Duke University?
Fantastic school, exactly. Now, the Sanusa Cup, again, Mike, getting back to that, Pat, what does that really mean to basketball? How are you going to compare this tournament? Is the idea of this tournament to be close to a provincial championship caliber, or like where do you see it fitting in the season?
Right now, I think it's on par with the provincial caliber championship. The only difference is the schools don't have to win their association. There's no qualifying. There's regional qualifying, but we've opened it up to everybody. So you're going to have 4 schools from the same region playing at a regional tournament. So 4 schools from Durham, whereas provincial championships, you can only have 1 from that district playing. I think the other thing that makes it as good as the provincial championship is we're playing American teams. The ultimate winner of this tournament will have to go through St. Raymond's from New York. That's a fact of life. The Americans play this game from the time they're 3 feet tall or 3 years old up, and our kids generally don't start until they're in grade 8, grade 9. So Sanusa is as good as the provincial champions. Where it can go, I think it can be the biggest international boys basketball tournament in North America in 5 years. And what I would like to see is not only the top schools from Ontario, but schools from Halifax, Edmonton, Vancouver come in here, play schools from whatever states I can find them from to come up here and play. And I think within 5 years, with corporate sponsorship, with the community support that this tournament's going to generate and get, I think we can achieve it, and that's the ultimate goal.
How about the U.S. schools right now versus the Canadian schools? Is it realistic to expect that the Canadian schools can give a top U.S. school, like the school you mentioned, a good game?
Absolutely. I think that's, you know, the only advantage an American kid has is the instinctive knowledge of the game that is garnered through playing it for 15 years. When you play a sport for that long and you're only 18, you learn things, you understand things, you react instinctively. Canadians still have to get through that process because they don't start playing this game until, as I said, 13, 14 years of age. If we started at 6, I went down to Indianapolis several summers ago. We took a group of kids down there that played in the Peace Games in Scarborough, and we beat the Americans, and it was all attitude. The kids took the approach that, you know, we put our pants on the same way they put their pants on. We go to the bathroom the same way they go to the bathroom. And it just, guys, you can jump, you can shoot, you can run, and you can rebound. And if you play within yourself, you'll win. And we did. And I just think that right now, our kids can compete. The only difference the Americans have is just in the skill level, the instinctiveness of the game. They have a little bit more of an advantage, but athletically, there's no difference.
Well, it just shows you, you know, ladies and gentlemen, we talk so many times about high school sports here on Goal Line and in the community here and the value of it and how far they've come in the Sanusa Cup, and people like Pat Rutledge, the tournament coordinator, are doing a great job to promote the sport. And if you've got a chance this weekend, you come down to Durham College and you'll be delightfully surprised at the high caliber and the good basketball we're seeing. Pat, I know you're doing a great job on this tournament. The best of luck with it. We certainly hope it turns into exactly what you want it to be, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pat. Well, my thanks to Pat Rutledge and to Mike Pawerka for their time at Durham College. And if you've got a chance this weekend to get down to the college, be sure to check out the Sanusa Cup, the East Regional going down. 4 local teams, should be a great tournament. 8 teams involved totally, and it's a great time. It's at Durham College, and speaking of Durham College, the Assistant Athletic Director of the college, Ken Babcock, joins me here in the studio. Ken, nice to have you with me. The Sanusa Cup obviously really shows where high school basketball has gone, Ken. Pat says that maybe, you know, it's still an untapped market, but you can see it's starting to come, can't you?
Well, I think, Roger, the untapped market that Pat talks about is definitely there. College basketball in the States, and we derive back to the United States all the time as being the profile way to go. But in Canada, we can do it at our own pace. It's an untapped market. High school basketball is improving the caliber. The grassroots level is really improving with quality coaching coming from the elementary schools. And college basketball, as you can witness from the big crowds we've had at Durham the last little while, the interest in basketball is there, and it just takes the time to promote it. The Sanusa Cup is an obvious avenue for that.
I guess it's great to have it at Durham College too, Ken. You know, the college takes a lot of pride in hosting a lot of events. Of course, your great varsity sports programs, but an event like this is just another reason to get people out to Durham too, isn't it?
Well, it really is, and we don't necessarily just center on college athletics only. We're very adamant about getting involved with elementary schools for their basketball finals, high school for their finals. In fact, Port Perry is hosting Office of Basketball for Women. I believe that'll be finalized sometime soon in the near future for next fall. And the Sanusa Cup is another avenue. The college is involved. We can get involved as a class athletics site to host it, and they benefit from playing on a great facility. And also Oshawa benefits, and the surrounding Durham region benefits from having top caliber basketball right in town.
Let's talk a little bit about basketball for start and keep everyone up to date on what's happening at Durham College these days. The 2 basketball teams, the Lady Lords, of course, the last couple of years have really struggled. This year, an absolutely great start, really 2-2, a lot of close games and a lot of interest.
Well, it's certainly been a big turnaround. Part of it, my stepping down from coaching, I guess maybe
that was the key. I heard that was the key, yeah.
But you know, definitely with a new coach, Ernie Rainbow, and I've stepped aside to take on extra duties with our athletic department. The program's really solid right now. We're 2-2. We're in 3rd place. In fact, the last 2 seasons, we managed 4 victories total in conference play, and we're really on an upswing. We've got a good young team and a good crop of recruits. And they're back in action, actually, as we speak this week. They'll be playing host to Fanshawe, the #1 team in Ontario. That'll be their next test before heading into the new year.
Kerry Vinson's men's Lords team has an excellent team as well. They're off to a 4-0 start. Then I guess it was Algonquin that finally got them. You're talking one of the top clubs ranked anywhere in Canada. Kerry Vinson's got a hell of a team this year.
And Coach Vincent definitely off to a good start. Came in highly touted, obviously, as a veteran coach, and also, I guess, transplanted from the United States as a coach and born in the United States. He's really brought in a new wave or new era of basketball at the college, run and gun, defensive oriented, and his team has really shown that. They've given up less than 50 points 6 times so far this season overall. And in conference play, the team's 4-1 right now in 2nd place. They've got a big game against Loyalist College this week as we speak. And heading into Christmas, the team hopefully will crack the national rankings. Algonquin College was the only one to beat so far Durham College at home last week on Friday night in front of a big crowd. And it really suits well for the program, taking us to the next step of college basketball, and it sits well.
Let's talk about the volleyball teams now. Stan Marchett, of course, gets the big career victory 100. What a great career he's had at the college.
Well, Stan Marchett, 100 wins, I guess, says it all. 100 victories in any sport, considering the time, the effort, the years. And in fact, really over 10 seasons, this is his 10th season, he's averaged over 10 victories a year in conference and playoffs, including 2 trips to the Nationals, a bronze medal finish. And Coach Marchett was real pleased to be honored in that regard, not being the kind of person that likes all the hype and the media attention when he works at his own high school, which is Eastdale Collegiate. But we're real pleased to have Stan. He's working hopefully on his way towards 200 soon. No pressure, though.
Great to hear. How about the men's team now? Tell us a little bit about their season.
Men's team, another new coach on staff. Head coach Lawrence Bishop comes to us as a graduate of our program and a former assistant coach at Brock University. And he's taken on a fairly young team with only 4 returning players, but some depth that he may be able to deal with in returning veteran players in Martin McDonald and Ian Cumming. And right now the squad sits at 1 and 2. A little premature panic button, I think. It's the first time the squad's been below 500, I think, in 4 years. But nonetheless, it is a rebuilding year, and Coach Bishop will be doing everything he can in taking that program the next step back to playoff contention. And who knows, heading to the Christmas holidays, we should be back above the 500 level.
Ken, a final question. The attendance at Durham College this year has been outstanding. You had over 700 for the season opener. You've been getting over 500 a night in there. That must be great to see and very rewarding for you.
Well, the bottom line is we are really pleased. The crowds have been great. The excitement's there. It shows you again that the interest can be there if it's promoted properly, and we rely on our local newspapers. We have a great tap into the market. We try to get out to the schools as best we can. And marketing the whole program really comes down to the time put into it and getting the team and athletes to buy into it, getting out to the malls, visiting with the community. And it really has paid off. And if you ever get a chance to see a game, it is exciting. 500 people, the biggest crowd we've ever had for volleyball last Thursday, and over 700 people for the home opener against Seneca a week ago. And it is really exciting to see.
That's great, Ken. Listen, great job at Durham College. Thanks so much for taking the time today, and thanks so much for what you've done for our show. You know, one of the reasons the Goal Line has had a very strong start, we feel, is the work you're doing for us at the college. We really appreciate it, and I know, just like I am, and a lot of us, you're new to the TV biz, but you've done a great job for us, and we really appreciate it.
If only people out there knew how hard this was to do. But basically, I appreciate your help, and the college is more than happy to get involved. And I appreciate your time.
That's great, Ken. Thanks very much. Well, that's our show for this week. Be sure to join us next time on Goal Line. Ian Bunting, the coach of the Oshawa Hawkeye junior football team, joins me. It's an interesting story with the Hawkeyes. The Adams are provincial champions. The juniors have won 2 games in 5 years. Ian has agreed to come down. We're going to have a frank discussion on just what is wrong with that junior football program. And as well, be sure to join us Monday, December the 13th. We are going to have a very special 1-hour Goal Line. It'll be a live call-in show, which gives you the opportunity to talk to us. We'll set up some lines. You'll be able to call. We'll have more details on that in our next show. But keep that date in mind. That'll be the Goal Line for that week. It'll run a couple of times during the week. But on the Monday night, you'll have a chance to give us a call. We'll have more details on that as well in the near future. I'm Rogers10. It's been my pleasure again. I thank all my guests for being with us. A special thanks to Ken Babcock for coming down to the studio. We'll see you all next time on Goal Line.